Because of how much challenge is associated with the transgender experience, it's easy for us to miss out on our alchemical potential by dismissing our situation as inherently wrong. And instead of seeing our life circumstances as falling together, we see them as falling apart. And instead of seeing potential for evolution, we see inevitable disaster. And so that right there is a tragedy, if you ask me. Because if there's one thing that our community has been blessed with, it's an abundance of challenge. Or said another way, it's an abundance of transformational potential. And that right there is why I spend so much time talking about gender alchemy. Because at its core, this is a tool that we can use to strategically navigate challenge. And in today's conversation, I'm going to give you a perspective that will help you to maximize this evolutionary potential that your gender exploration has to offer. But before I give you that perspective, first I want to talk a little bit more about this tendency that we have to turn away from challenge. Because like I said, this topic is at the heart of gender alchemy. How do we as gender passionate people engage with the challenging aspects of our journey? Do we get paranoid? Do we curse God? Do we blame others? Do we become victims? Or on the other end, do we trust in life, let go of our resistance, and surrender into the situation? And if you're anything like I was for most of my life, then you're probably somewhere in the first category. You are tense, you're closed off, and you're backed up. And even though you would love to be the person who is strong, instead you feel weak. And even though you would love to be the version of yourself who is capable, instead you find yourself collapsing. And it's not because you are inherently weak, of course, and it's not because there's anything wrong with you, but instead it's simply because from within your current experience, challenges are just like totally overwhelming. They're overstimulating, they're scary, and they're intense. And then more often than not, they are associated with the parts of yourself that feel like really vulnerable. Do you know what I mean? Like, have you noticed that whatever reoccurring themes and major life challenges that you are consistently faced with, it's like they always seem to be pointed directly at your soft spots, or at those parts of yourself that are just really, really sensitive and tender. And then, of course, on top of this personal vulnerability that we have, there's also this like white hot social spotlight, which is pointed directly at our transgender nature. It's causing us to become hyper aware of everything that we're going through, and all of which is just resulting and culminating in this situation where you feel out of your depth, we'll just say. And if that's where you're at, stuck in this state of overwhelm, then that's what we're going to be addressing in today's conversation. What do we do when our challenges seem to be dragging us down and keeping us stuck in this place that just doesn't feel good? Well, that's what our strategy is all about. Letting go of these assumptions, reapproaching the situation, and allowing for our challenges to be exactly as they are. All right, let's get into that strategy, which is called befriend your challenge. And recognize that whatever form your challenge is taking, whether that is gender, or it's emotions, or it's people, or it's something else, recognize that these challenges are the soil of your transformation. And that even though this environment is uncomfortable, it's actually in service to your evolution. But the reason that you are stuck in a state of overwhelm is because you perceive these challenges to be something other than what they truly are. And so that's why I'm saying that this is your opportunity to befriend the very things that you're afraid of. And so in order to illustrate this point, let's just consider all the times in your life when you misread a situation and you jump to conclusions. So maybe you've done this with another person or within a relationship, and for whatever reason, your assumptions about the thing ended up being wrong. And then it wasn't until later on that you were able to confirm, like, oh man, I totally missed that one. So I don't know about you, but this has happened to me a lot in my life. Like, I come in and I think that it's one thing, but then in reality, it ends up being something else. And even though I was convinced that like this other person was being mean, for example, and that they were out to get me, in reality, it just wasn't true at all. And it wasn't until I took the time to befriend this person or look at this situation from a different perspective and hear this other side of the story, what then I was able to realize that, oh, all along it was just a misunderstanding. And so even, I can go through that and still not enjoy being around this other person, or it can still be an uncomfortable situation, but at least I'm not contributing to it by having this over the top emotional charge, which comes from projecting my ideas about reality onto someone or something else. And now I'm just able to allow that person or that situation to be exactly as it is. Instead of taking it all personally and jumping to conclusions, I'm able to just relax. And then I'm able to work with the reality of the situation. And so in the same way, I want you to go through this befriending process with whatever challenges you're being faced with. So this means turning over this new leaf and looking at the thing from a fresh perspective. Instead of taking the challenge personally and asking for it to be different, instead just embrace it for what it is. Recognize that this is an opportunity for growth and it's a doorway into your evolution. And then from this place of acceptance and recognition, I want you to see if you can introduce some curiosity into the situation. So see if you can start engaging with this challenge with a more playful and lighthearted demeanor, just like you would with a friend. So maybe you could ask this challenge like, what are you trying to tell me? Where are you leading me? I see you and I get that you're supposed to be big and scary, but still, I want to learn more about you. I want to hear your side of the story. And so that right there is a strategy for befriending and coming into harmony with your gender situation. And that's what transformation and alchemy is all about. It's about coming into harmony with the wisdom and truth of who you really are. And so all you got to do is really just relax and lean into the thing. See if you can just befriend it. And then instead of, for example, if you were to look at your body as a curse, instead, what you could do is feel your way into the teaching that the situation has to offer. And instead of blaming your family and society for whatever problems you're having, see if you can sense and hear this subtle wisdom that they are teaching you. And so like in a gist, this is going to be how you can intentionally use the challenging aspects of your life as a means for transformation. This is how you walk through your challenges and into the outstretched arms of that evolved version of yourself. And when you are ready to meet that person, then watch this video and I'll tell you the key to practicing gender alchemy. All right, my friend, that's all I've got in this one. I'll see you in the next one.